I'm Seren and welcome to another Arts Connection bite-sized workshop. Today we'll be learning how to upcycle an old terracotta plant pot, such as this, into something that could look like this. We're going to be doing a little bit of a simpler design. This is a bit more of a complex pot with a complex design. And it's very simple. You want to make sure your plant pot's nice and clean. You can choose to paint it a base colour such as black or white, or a bright colour, that's up to you. I'm going to go with just normal because, to be honest, I quite like the pattern that's been created on it. And this plant pot has been in the garden for ages, so giving it a little clean and we're ready to go. So it's a very simple method, and essentially we're going to be creating really straight painted lines using masking tape. And the pattern I'm going to be doing is just a simple striped pattern. So I'm going to paint this a different colour and then I'm going to put stripes down here. So I'm going to start by getting my masking tape nice and tight on this bottom edge. Make sure your masking tape really sticks well to the terracotta pot, because any slight gaps will mean faint marks and the painted lines won't end up as straight as they could be. Can be a bit tricky, but just make sure your masking tape is nice and sticky and it is quite new as well. I find sometimes old masking tape can lose its stickiness, so put that here. And then I want to just do some simple lines straight down like that. Rub down any air gaps. Now, we're not going to have time to show you what it looks like once it is dried, but you're more than welcome to, or an idea is that you can add different patterns on top of your painted areas. So for example, if you had a big block of colour here and you wanted to add more to it, you can put big dots, which might look quite nice, or stripes, for example. I quite like mine blocked colours, but individual preferences. You should find some good samples on the workbook to give you a bit more inspiration as well. And it also depends what you like. Okay, that's my base pattern done. So for example, with this one, I put masking tape here and over this raised bit, and I painted the top first, and then I put masking tape all the way down these lines and painted these separate colours. Where the circles are, once I took the masking tape off, there was just a straight line, so I amended it and went over slightly with a paintbrush because for me that looked a little bit better. Once the top and the bottom had dried, I then took the masking tape off, put some masking tape around the top. Sorry, I didn't take this masking tape off yet. I put some masking tape around the top and I left this masking tape on, and then I painted this middle bit. And similar thing with the bottom. I was inspired by like holidays in Morocco or Italy, to be honest, because it's Wales and it's cold and I can't wait to go abroad next. So I wanted to make something that reminded me of nice sunny trips abroad. Right, now I'm going to start just putting some colours on here. I'm going to go with a bright yellow, I think, for the top. I use acrylic paints. You can use garden paint or ceramic paint might not work. Garden paint's probably best, it sticks to everything. Now the best thing about the masking tape is that you can just be messy with the paintbrush. You don't have to worry about the intricate lines. That's what the masking tape is there for. Obviously, if you then choose to add any patterns on yourself, then you do have to be a little bit careful with how you paint dots or stripes. So you might, for example, if you're doing stripes, wait for all the paint to dry, and then over areas where it's painted, place some masking tape and then paint over that. So you get defined stripes instead of having to worry about getting them perfect with a paintbrush. And for the inside of the pot, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. You can paint the inside. You can just go a little bit messy with the colour and just do the inside like that. Yeah, I mean, it gets filled with soil, so I guess it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't really matter, but you might want to make it look even more completed by painting the inside. Now, the darker the colour, the more bold it is. So I've gone for a bright yellow, which is actually quite translucent, so I might have to do a second coat to that. So I'm just smoothing off here. And then I'll add a second coat in when that's dry. Right, so I'm going to go for quite nice earthy tones and go for different shades of green. So again, just big bold colour. There we go. As you can see, the green is already a lot less translucent than the yellow, and with colours like this, I probably won't have to go over them. Now I'm just using a nice small paintbrush. You don't really need a big one, but make sure it is a flat paintbrush. Just wipe off any excess paint that might get a bit blobby, and paint the bottom as well if you feel up for it. Now I'm just showing you, as I said, some very simple techniques, so please have fun with the masking tape, go wild with your creations. There are some times where I have put masking tape diagonal along here and then up to create interesting geometric patterns and shapes, and then painted those into bold colours. So I'm just going to have to be very careful at the moment and make sure I don't touch any of the wet paint with my fingers. So next green's going on, and we'll just paint it like this. And if you might be a little bit prone to perfection, you can always get a measuring tape or a ruler and perfectly measure out the spacings in between the masking tape. The distance between each one, for example, to get them perfectly symmetrical. Okay, let's do another colour. Now another green. And I think that's all my colour greens actually, and I've got one space left, so I might get a blue shade, a turquoisey blue shade, which looks similar to this green here, and paint it next to it just to stay with the same theme. There we go. Let's see what we've got. Oh, I quite like this. Ultramarine, why not? Fingers on the masking tape to turn the pot around, otherwise you'll end up with really, really painty fingers. Okay. How's my yellow coming along at the top? So it's still not quite dry. So I'm just going to put all the lids back on this as well. I always do that. I get so excited with painting that I don't put the lids back on the paints as I'm going, and then either lose the lids or accidentally switch them around. Right. See how a bit more yellow works on that. I'm sticking down quite well. I'm just going to paint some of the inside actually, decided. But just down to this line here. And I'm not that bothered about it being too messy or defined on the inside, but as I said, you could probably get away with putting a bit of masking tape on the inside and making some nice neat lines, or just, yeah, painting it one bold colour. This yellow is very thin. I do have this in reserve, and an ochre yellow, which I might, to be honest with you, mix in some of the colour. To get it thicker and to make it look a bit more bold. Now this is the thing, sometimes you'll pick a colour and you might not like it. You might think, oh, this will look really nice, but it might not actually go with the design or the idea that you have. So starting with light colours, I mean, to be honest, I always find that I change the top colour around quite a lot. So starting with light colours is good because you can go over them easier. And I'm liking the way this is mixing in and creating a nice blended colour. Let's turn this around. circle around the top. Okay, I'm going to leave the inside of it bright yellow, I think, so I quite like it. Okay, now moment of truth. So you probably want to wait for the paint to dry a little bit more than I am. But I'm just going to start ripping off the masking tape. Find what I did with that edge on here. Aha. I might have to go over some of the yellow at the top. Oopsie. Okay. Success. I did make a few finger marks with the yellow, trying to grab onto that. That's why you wait for it to dry. So let's just go over that. Okay. Pick it up at the bottom to show you. And there we have it. Nice, straight lines. Once this is dry, you can always cover the painted areas with masking tape and then paint the terracotta bits if you don't want to give a base colour. Or if you forget to. Sometimes I forget. And then you can always paint little dots, or as I said, stripes. It's all about your own personal preference. This was just to show you the basics of it and what you do. And if your masking tape hasn't stuck down very well and you find a few wibbly wines, just mend them quickly with a paintbrush, or wait for it to dry and then use some masking tape and then go over it again. It's all about just having fun and, yeah, being creative and experimental and seeing what you might think will fit well in the garden. I always find it's nice to plan what plants you want to put in. So I put a geranium in the big one. So that's going to be a nice red, bright red geranium, which will contrast with the colours really, really well. As you can see, I quite like my yellows and my blues and greens. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have fun. Enjoy and goodbye.